The chair is calling this executive committee meeting for Monday, February 12th to order. And we have all members present. We have a quorum. We can conduct business. And we have a consent agenda, and those would be the approval of meeting minutes for January 8th, 2024, and for the bills, and those bills total $879,074.31. May I have a motion? I have a motion by Vice Chair Johnston and a second by Member Lehman. All in favor of accepting the consent agenda, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Do we have any appearances by members of the public?
Madam Chair, we've had one request to speak tonight, and that's Jackie Byer. I'd ask her to come forward to this front row here. Yeah, if you want to leave it down here at the end, we'll pass those out. You can just pass them on. And it's the bottom right-hand button.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Jackie Byer, and I live in District 10. This afternoon, I am speaking about Agenda Item 4A1F, request approval of an ordinance of the McLean County Board amending Chapter 20 Board Rules. I would like to preface everything by saying that I am Vice Chair of the Bloomington Planning Commission and a frequent attendee and speaker at Bloomington City Council meetings. Public participation in government is important to me, from me wanting to be heard, as well as me wanting to hear from the public. It should be as easy as possible. With that said, I am thrilled about the amendments to the Chapter 20 rules regarding public comment that were passed by the Rules Committee on Thursday night, or Rules Subcommittee. I also love the additional change that eliminates the distinction between on versus off agenda comments. I would just like to point out that there currently is a total of 30 minutes allotted for public comment, 15 minutes at the beginning of the meeting and 15 minutes at the end. So I propose 20-13.G.2a to say 30 minutes. I would also like to suggest including a section regarding rules for conducting public hearings, especially in the context of truth and taxation hearings. When the McLean County Board held theirs in 2023, it seemed like the board was in violation of two different property tax codes. I sent a complaint letter on October 16, 2023 to Assistant State's Attorney Sierra, who told me to consult a private attorney. I don't have the funds for a private attorney, but I have a copy of those emails to reference, and that's in the packet. Regarding remote participation in Chapter 2020 C2, I looked up the OMA statute, Section 7, attendance by means other than physical presence. Section 7A says the public body may, not must, allow a member of the body to attend the meeting by other means if a member is prevented from physically attending because of personal illness or disability, employment purposes, or the business of the public body, a family or other emergency, or unexpected child care obligations. Section 7CA, a majority of the public body may allow a member to attend a meeting by other means, only in accordance with and to the extent allowed by rules adopted by the public body. These rules, referring to the public body's rules, must conform to the requirements and restrictions of this section, may further limit the extent to which the attendance by other means allowed. Hence, any of the listed reasons can be excluded in the county rules. I'm disappointed that it was presented as everything was required. Even though it may be permissible, I still have concerns about members attending meetings remotely due to unexpected child care obligations, especially when meetings last 2 to 3 hours. This isn't about trying to disenfranchise voters, but about child safety. If the board continues to support this amendment, I just hope board members are prudent in their decisions and nothing happens to a child while participating. Maybe there is wording that can be included somewhere to eliminate any liability to the county if something happens to a child while a member is attending remotely. 20-20A says remote location via telephone. Can that be expanded to include video conferencing or just change via telephone to electronically? 20-20D, I support the change to affirmative voting. I would also like to suggest that the reason for requesting remote attendance be specifically stated before the vote to approve remote participation. I also like to point out that with the changes to an affirmative vote, there is additional language that needs to be changed after the amended wording. Then the request by the member to attend the meeting electronically shall be deemed denied when it says approved right now. And the presiding officer shall declare the requesting member absent, not present. Finally, I would like to point out a violation of rules that occurred at the Rules Subcommittee meeting regarding the motion to reconsider items in 20-20D towards the end of the meeting. Only a member who voted for the prevailing side can move to reconsider. Therefore, only members Wendt, Erickson, or Soldner could have moved for reconsideration. Since member Lehman was on the non-prevailing side, her motion to reconsider should have never been entertained. Making a motion to reconsider just because you didn't like the outcome and the prevailing side no longer has the votes because member Wendt left is exactly why those rules are in place. So bad faith moves like that are not allowed. Legally, I do not know if the violation of the rule invalidates the motion to reconsider. But thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Byers. We'll move to Section 4, and that's departmental matters. And we have 4A, and those are appointments and reappointments. And may I have a motion for that? A motion by Friedrich, a second by Vice Chair Johnston. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of 4A1A, those are the appointments for the Emergency Telephone System, Central Illinois Regional Airport, the Board of Health, and the Gridley Drainage District, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. We will then go to 4A1C, and those are, that is information technology, and we have 4A1C, C1, and that is request permission to purchase the computers and laptops from Dell Computers using a joint purchasing agreement via the Midwest Higher Education. May I have a motion? A motion by Schaefer, a second by Vice Chair Johnston. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the permission to purchase the laptops, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. 4A1C, C2, request permission to purchase network switching equipment for government connection using joint purchase agreement via Omnipartners. May I have a motion? I have a motion by Klein, I'm sorry, Member Klein, and I have a second by Member Schaefer. Any questions or discussion? I think we have, if we do have, we have the specialist here to help us through that. Seeing none, all in favor of the purchase of switching equipment through Omnipartners, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. 4A1C, C3, request permission to purchase antivirus software for from Government Connection using a joint purchase agreement via Omnipartners also, once again. May I have a motion for that? I have a motion by Lehman and a second by Klein. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of purchasing antivirus software from Omnipartners, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. 4A1C, C4, request approval of AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, public sector agreement via Government Connection. May I have a motion? I have a motion by Member Klein and a second by Member Friedrich. Any questions? I do have one question. I'm assuming that that is for cloud services, correct?
That is correct. This will allow us to establish presence in the cloud for some of our criminal justice project.
Which is, from a security perspective, you've already, I'm assuming that all of that has
Yeah,
been
it's
checked and double checked.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
FedRAMP, which is a requirement for CGIS data, which we'll be putting there.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the request approval for Amazon Web Services for public sector using Via Connection, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. We're moving to 4A, 1E, and that is request approval of a resolution of the McLean County Board adopting the 2024 legislative program for McLean County. May I have a motion? We have a motion by Member Rogal and a second by Vice Chair Johnston. Any discussion? Member Schaefer.
Yeah, when we had the rules, before, that, the topic on the Open Meetings Act, was changed to, support this bill and from opposing the bill. And I am not going to support that. I'd like to actually go back to the original meaning of what we had that was crossed off on that, because I do believe that it does reduce the public's ability to engage in meaningful interactions with their elected and appointed officials if the quorum is not physically present. I mean, technically, if you take it to an extreme, we could have a meeting with no one here other than administration. So I would like to make a motion to uncross off the stuff that was crossed off and put it back the way it was. It's on page 23.
So you are amending the motion?
Yes.
Is that correct? And on page 23, and that would be at the bottom of 23, supporting Bill 4162, and you do not want to support 4162. You believe we should support,
I would like to remove the strikeouts on this would reduce the public's ability to engage in meaningful interactions with their elected and appointed officials, and then remove the strikeout of opposition and strike out support of. Basically putting it back the way it was,
so not support of.
not support that bill.
Okay. Do we have a second? No, we have a second by Member Erickson. Any other discussion? All right, so we have to vote on the motions, the amended motion first. So all in favor of that amended motion, say aye. Aye. So that's 4, and that would be 4 against then for, is that correct? So that doesn't, nothing moves forward. So the nays would be Rogal, Lehman, Klein, and Johnston. I'm sorry, I'm not helping you very much, Julie, I apologize for that. So that motion, that amended motion does not pass. So that being the case, any other discussion? All right. All in favor of the legislative agenda, adopting the legislative agenda for 2024, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. And I'm voting no, so then we have, I'm sorry, Friedrich? So we have Friedrich, Erickson, Metzger, and Schaefer, no. And yes, Rogal, Lehman, Klein, and Johnston, yes. So it doesn't move forward. All right, we're going to move to 4A1F, and that's Rules Committee, and that is request approval of an ordinance of the McLean County Board amending Chapter 20 Board Rules. And may I have a motion? I have a motion by Vice Chair Johnston and a second by Member Klein. Discussion? Yes, Member Erickson.
Is red on? All right, I guess I'm on. So we're going to cover the entire rules in one large vote, right? Is that what you're saying?
Unless it's amended.
All right, I just need time to look. Thank you. I'll be a no vote.
All right, any other discussion? Okay. All in I'm sorry.
Sorry, Chair.
That's all right.
I do like the changes to the, the allowing people to speak and the shortened time frame, but there's other problems that I have with some of these rules changes. So, I hope the Rules Subcommittee will come back or somebody will come back and address those at some point and maybe cut the rest of this out. But if we're voting on it as a whole, I have to vote no because there's other things I don't agree with. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. No other comments? All right, all in favor of 4A1F, F1, and that is the rules, amending the rules, Chapter 20, say aye. Opposed?
No.
And that would be, and I'm voting, and that would be 4 noes, and that would be Metzger, Erickson, Schaefer, Friedrich, no, and Johnston, Klein, Lehman, and Rogal, yes. So that motion does not pass, so that motion dies. Then we're going to move on to, yes,
Just a parliamentary procedure sort of question. So it goes back to the committee, right? It's not, those changes just need to be reintroduced by the committee. So all of the changes to the public comment policy are not gone. They just need to go back through the Rules Committee again.
We do not have a parliamentarian this evening, but I believe the Rules Committee and the Legislative Committee could meet again with the direction of those committee chairs. And if it is proposed in a new document, it could be considered again.
and Member Erickson, you were indicating that you were potentially in favor of,
I'm potentially in favor of some of that, but I'm not in favor of I'm not in favor of voting on all as a whole, so that's why I had to vote no.
so I think the procedure moving forward would be both of those committees to reconvene, reconsider some of those more that were viewed problematic, right or wrong, right? That were, and bring it forward again. Yes.
Just for the record, then we're allowing for another month of a public comment policy that was deemed by the Attorney General of the State of Illinois to be improper to go through.
At this point, yes. For A1, excuse me, 4A three, and those would be items for presentation, and that would be the general report for information technology and the EGS update. Does anybody have any questions, or would you like to share anything additional?
Not regarding the general report. I do have a few slides to put through for the Aegis update.
Please.
Okay. Mr. Leary, thank you. And I did keep it brief. There's just 9 slides, okay? So we won't be here too long. As you may or may not recall, the Aegis system is our flagship criminal justice system, but it went live in 1997, and so way past due for replacement. And so a number of efforts got underway a couple of years ago to get that replacement made. What you're seeing here is kind of a graphical overview of that. The current Aegis system is in the bright yellow there and represents the legacy platform that we have that's been running since then. Then what we needed to do is we went out and procured a new RMS, which is law enforcement. That stands for Records Management System. A JMS is a jail management system. The CMS is a court case management system. And then we need something to tie them all together, which is the green box, which is really 2 things. A master index, which is kind of a phone book that cross-references people between the systems. And then Boomi, which is software that actually then moves the data between the systems once everything is up and live. So this next slide is just kind of the text of what I read out. But what we did was we went to bid first on the RMS, and that was awarded to Caliber Public Safety, which, by the way, is the incumbent vendor for the current Aegis system. That is slated to go live mid-March at this point. And then we went with the
Is
jail
it March of
management
2024?
this year.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. ATEMS, which is the jail management system, will also bring for first time electronic record-keeping capabilities to the Juvenile Detention Center, which was not part of the original Aegis project. And so that's slated, I believe, for July of this year, of 2024. The court case management system is the most complex one. It's made up of 4 subparts for the state's attorney, public defender, court services, and then the courts themselves. And then, of course, the 2 systems integration pieces, the Boomi software and the master index. So RMS, one of the neat things about McLean County, we've always kind of stood out because of this, is that we have every single law enforcement agency in one system. And that will still be true when this goes live, but it'll be a hosted system, it'll be online. It'll have better disaster recovery and business continuity capabilities as a result. As I noted on the JMS, it'll handle both the McLean County Detention Facility and the juvenile facility. In CMS, I've outlined there the 4 subcomponents. And then our consulting partner that's been helping us along the way from the beginning, it's Mission Control Partners. It used to be MTG. They were acquired by Mission Control. All they do is criminal justice consulting. That's their sole business. I know this can be a little bit tough to read because they're all on one page here. It kind of represents the busyness we have in our department relative to this project, to be honest. But it gives you a graphical representation of the go live. The courts will be the last one to go live because they actually need to be integrated, those 4 subcomponents, with one another before they can be tied into the other pieces. So I did kind of just a call out on each individual one. So currently we've been testing. RMS is up and running. We provided a demonstration and a little bit of testing to the rural agencies. They have the rural law enforcement agencies have a monthly meeting at Heartland Community College. And so we were out there to take them through that. JMS is going along very nicely right now. It's really just a top-of-the-line system. So we're excited about what we're going to be able to do with that. CMS is our most complex animal. It takes the most time and attention out of all of them. And of course, trying to get that time and attention also out of departments like State's Attorney and Public Defender. They've all been stepping up, but of course, it's a challenge, you know. We need judges' input, we need the State's Attorney's input, Public Defender, Court Services, and all of those 4 individual projects then have to get tied together before they can even be tied together with the other systems. And then the 2 kind of underlying back-end pieces, as I described, the phone book, the creation of the phone book between them. So when we book Joe Johnson, we know it's the same Joe Johnson in each one of those 4 or 5 systems and not a different Joe Johnson. We don't always get all the personal identifiers we would like to have with every transaction that goes through our systems. Civil filings in particular don't require those types of identifiers, so it's easy to get duplication of names. But this will work to eliminate that as much as is possible. And the master index, which again is the lookup. The Boomi piece, I guess that was actually the piece I was on, is the piece that will map data fields between the systems to each other and create kind of a highway and interchange of those data elements to move from one system to the next and be able to call for information to and from each of those systems. And that's all I had on that. Be happy to answer any questions if I can.
Any questions? All right, thank you very much.
you.
Appreciate the efforts. Oh, Member Klein, yes.
Sorry, I don't have a question. I do have a question for you. I have a question about, to go back, about something within this category under executive committee. Are we allowed to ask a question about that, or do I need to wait to the end?
Circle back, is that,
Yes,
I would think we should be able
It's a
to address it
question.
now.
it's a question, not a motion.
Okay.
We'll need the expertise of Vice Chair Johnston. In our Rules Committee meeting, Trevor Sierra informed us that there was at least one change in our rules that if we did not make, no member could participate remotely at all until that change was made. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that's item, it's on page 24 of the packet, but it would be chapter 20-20, item D, the changes in that paragraph. Is that correct?
That is
the same?
correct. This was Mr. Sierra's recommended language to bring us into legal compliance for allowing remote attendance.
And he asserted in our meeting, if my memory is correct, that if we did not make this change, no one can participate remotely.
That is what yes, that is what
asserted.
he
Okay,
advised us of.
thank you.
That would be page 46.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the Rules Committee packet. It's chapter 20-20. It's in the remote attendance policy. Paragraph D, the changes in this paragraph. I just wanted to be clear for those members who were not present, because it was not a video recorded meeting, that we were advised as the committee that if we don't do that, no one can participate remotely until it's changed.
All right. Sidebar conversations, either put them on so everyone can hear or do not have them, one or the other.
She was just saying she couldn't find the video, and I said it's because they didn't make one.
Oh,
It was just
Okay,
audio.
very good. I'm sorry, I was not trying to, we just want to make sure things are recorded. Okay. Thank you for that clarity, and we appreciate that. And that is all, so we can move to 4B, and that is the Finance Committee and Chair William Friedrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Finance brings 7 items for action, and if it would be okay with committee, I'd like to combine E, F, and G, dealing with money transfers for the fiscal year 2024.
Is there any objection to that? Seeing none, you can go ahead and start with A, and when you get down to D, E, and F, we can combine.
Thank you. Finance Committee brings one item, 4B1A, request approval of an ordinance of the McLean County Board amending the 2023 combined annual budget and appropriation ordinance, and I so move.
I need a second. I have a second by Member Lehman. Questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the request for the McLean County Combined Annual Appropriation Ordinance for 2023, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Chair Friedrich.
Second item, item B, request approval of an ordinance of the McLean County Board amending the 2024 combined annual budget and appropriation ordinance, and I also so move.
I need a second, please. We have a second by Member Schaefer. Any questions or discussion? All in favor of the approval of the amended 2024 combined annual budget and appropriation ordinance, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And Member Friedrich.
Our third item is C, request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2023 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance fund 0130 and 0131, and I so move.
Need a second, please. We have a second by Member Rogel. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, we have an emergency appropriation for 2023 for funds 0130 and 0131. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And Chair Friedrich, back to you.
Item D is request approval of an ordinance transferring monies from the County General Fund 0001 to the Children Advocacy Center Fund -0129 and the Court Security Fund 0141 and the IDPA 4D Fund 0156 and the Tort Judgment Fund 0135 for fiscal year 2024, and I so move.
And I need a second. We have a second by Member Lehman. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, this is the approval of the transferring monies from the General Fund 001 to Fund 0129, 0141, 0156, and 0135, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And Chair Friedrich.
Okay, we will be combining E, F, and G under one action item. Item E is request approval of an ordinance transferring monies from the Health Department Fund 0112 to the Persons with Developmental Disability Fund 0110 for fiscal year 2024. Request approval of a resolution transferring monies from the Working Cash Fund 0002 to the FICA/Social Security Fund 0130 for fiscal year 2024. And G, request approval of a resolution transferring monies from the County General Fund 0001 to the Nursing Home Fund 0401 fiscal year 2024, and I so move.
And I need a second. We have a second by Vice Chair Johnston. And I believe, I'm going to confirm that with Ms. Dreyer, but this is just to allow monies available to those funds so until tax monies come in. Is that accurate? All right, so that is the reason for all these transfers. So all in favor of the request for transfer monies from the Health Department to Developmental Disability Fund for 24, from the Working Cash Fund to the FICA Fund for 2024, and from the County General Fund to the Nursing Home for 2024, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no other action items. We will be bringing our proposed insurance program to the full board, and I yield back. Thank you.
We'll go to 4C, and that is Chair Schaefer, Health Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Health Committee has 2 items for action today. C1A is request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance pending the McLean County fiscal year 2024 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance for Fund 112, and I so move.
Need a second for that. Vice Chair Johnston. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the emergency appropriation for 2024 combined annual budget for Fund 0112, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Back to you, Chair Schaefer.
Thank you. C1B is request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2024 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance, and this is for Fund 107, and I so move.
Is there a second? We have a second by Member Friedrich, and I don't see 107 on this. Is that correct?
It's not on here, but
That is what it's for.
That is what it's for.
Okay, so Fund 107, is it 0107? Is that? Yes, 0107, for everyone's information. All right, all in favor? Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the emergency appropriation combined annual and budget ordinance for 2024 to for amending 0107, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Back to you, Ms. Schaefer.
Thank you. The Health Committee will also have an item for the board on Thursday besides these 2.
All right, we will go to 4D, and that's Justice Committee, and that's Chair Erickson.
Thank you, Chair. As I mentioned at the Rules Subcommittee, I have a record of attendance of being at almost every meeting, about 99.9%, but I did miss this meeting, and I want to thank Chair Metzger for covering the meeting for me, so thank you. Item on the agenda is item 4D1A, request approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the State of Illinois, Illinois Emergency Management Agency, and Office of Homeland Security in County of McLean, and there is a link to a large document provided with the packet, and I so move.
And I need a second. I have a second by Member Friedrich. Any questions? All right, so request approval of the intergovernmental agreement between the State of Illinois, Illinois Emergency Management Agency, and Homeland Security of McLean County. Say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And Chair Erickson.
I'll have to amend my comments at the end here. Next item on the agenda is item 4D1B. Request approval of a grant agreement between the State of Illinois, Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, and McLean County CASA VOCA. There's a link to that provided with the packet as well. And I so move.
And we have a motion by Member Erickson, a second by Vice Chair Johnston. Any questions or discussion? So we're going to vote on the request of approval of a grant between the State of Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority and McLean County CASA and VOCA. Say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And Chair Erickson.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 4D1C, request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2024 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance fund 0129, and I so move.
I need a second. Have a second by Member Schaefer. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion of the motion, and we're going to vote on the motion of emergency appropriation ordinance amending the fiscal year 2024 for Fund 0129. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Chair Erickson.
Last item is item 4D1D, request approval of a contract for services between DeWitt County Community Mental Health Board and Children's Advocacy Center, and I so move.
And a second, Vice Chair Johnston. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the request of a contract services between DeWitt County Mental Health Board and the Children's Advocacy Center, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And Chair Erickson.
Thank you, Chair. Stand corrected. It was Member Schaefer that chaired that committee. Thank you, Member Schaefer. We have
I was
three-
going to correct you, but you, I think Member Schaefer
I
got
should
you
put that
before I
under
did.
items to be presented for, sorry about that. But anyway, we have other items to be presented to the board. Thank you.
We are moving to 4E, and that would be Chair Lehman. And Chair Lehman, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chair Metzger. The Property Committee has no items to be presented for action this evening. We do have 3 items that will be presented before the board on Thursday. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. 4F, and that's land use, and our chair is Ms. Leah Klein.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Land Use and Development Committee does not have any items for action nor anything for the board, but I'm happy to answer questions.
So we'll go to 4G, and that's transportation, and that's Chair Rogel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Transportation Committee brings one item for action. 4G1A, request approval of a grant agreement between the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and McLean County, and I so move.
Second for that, please. We have a second by Member Lehman. Are there any questions for or discussion? Seeing none, the motion is, that we're voting is a request approval of that grant between the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and McLean County. Say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. I believe this is for a trail, right? Isn't it the trail in my district, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's $600,000 for sections of the historic Route 66 trail around Lexington.
I think it's between Towanda and Lexington, right? Very good. And thank you. And the floor is again yours, Chair Rogel.
The Transportation Committee has no other items for action, but we do have 6 items to be presented to the board. I can answer any questions if anyone has any.
All right. 4H, and that is Report of County Administrator. And Ms. Taylor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have 3 items to present for action this evening. The first being 4H1A, request approval of a grant agreement between the State of Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and the County of McLean.
And I need a motion for that. We have a motion by Friedrich and a second by Johnston. Are there any questions or discussion? Can you provide me, and I looked at this, but kind of that summary of this is, I was a bit confused by it.
So this
So
is,
could you please?
Certainly. This is in relationship to our DEC grant, which is part of the broadband expansion efforts. So this grant allows us to have funds available for a feasibility study. You'll remember we brought the feasibility study earlier this month or last month. My months are getting blended together. But this would allow us to have experts in the field do a feasibility study to outline anticipated costs with different strategies to ensure universal access to high-speed internet across McLean County.
But this was, I guess this was to pay the consulting group.
Correct.
Okay, wasn't to do the work.
No.
Okay, very good. I'm sorry, I should have been more clear. It's,
This is for the study itself.
yes, all right, very good, thank you. And I need a motion for that. I have a motion by.
We got a motion.
Oh, I have a motion, I'm sorry, and I asked the question afterwards. So all in favor of 4H1A, and that is the grant between the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and the County of McLean, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. 4H1B, and if you want to proceed with that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My next action item is a request for approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2024 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance for Fund 0001. This is the EA related to the action item you just approved.
And I need a motion. We have a motion by Vice Chair Johnston and a second by Member Schaefer. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of 4H1B, and that is the emergency appropriation amendment for 2024 combined appropriation and budget ordinance for Fund 0001, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. 4H1C, and Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last action item is to recommend that the county board make a determination that the need for confidentiality still exists as to the minutes of closed sessions of the county board and its committees. And in that vein, before you take a motion, you received a memorandum. There is one item included in the closed minute review that we would recommend that it be released. And so if and when a motion is made and you are accepting of releasing these minutes included in the memo, it would be a motion to release the minutes associated with that session and maintain confidentiality for all other closed sessions.
So it's just for the December 13th, 2021 session. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
All right, so we have a motion by Member Schaefer and a second by Vice Chair Johnston. If there is discussion, we may need to go into closed session. So seeing no heads saying we need to go into closed session, all in favor? Oh, yes.
I do have a question I think that I can state generally enough that we don't need to go into closed session.
Okay.
So the concern about the confidentiality of the document that we have in front of us, it's only this document, right? It's no other associated content.
So the confidentiality of our closed sessions goes back to the 80s, I believe, and so we're keeping those confidential.
Right.
This one would be released. This one,
Just
minutes
this-
from this one meeting
Just
would
this
be
page as I
released.
see in front of me, not additional verbatim notes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So all in favor of releasing the minutes for the Executive Committee closed session for December 13th of 2021, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you. I have no other items to be presented this evening.
Seeing nothing else, other business and communication, it looks like our next meeting is March 11th of 2024 at 4 p.m. Is there any other discussion or any comments that we need to address before adjournment? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.